I also want to defend America's religious heritage. I'm convinced that a family with faith, a family that has a pastor or another adult that cares about every single child, has a very distinct advantage in guiding children to a successful adulthood. And I want to make sure that the Attorney General defends the free exercise of religion in this country. The effort to establish an anti-religion in America, the anti-religion of secularism, has got to come to an end. We're a nation under God, and we do place our trust in Him.
Well, let's go back to the days of 1960 when JFK, John F. Kennedy, was the candidate who had to go and express support for separation of church and state in order to be elected.
I believe in an America where the separation of church and state is absolute, where no Catholic prelate would tell the president, should he be Catholic, how to act, and no Protestant minister would tell his parishioners for whom to vote, where no church or church school is granted any public funds or political preference, and where no man is denied public office merely because his religion differs from the president who might appoint him or the people who might elect him. I believe in an America that is officially neither Catholic, Protestant, nor Jewish, where no public official either requests or accepts instructions on public policy from the Pope, the National Council of Churches, or any other ecclesiastical source, where no religious body seeks to impose its will, directly or indirectly, upon the general populace or the public acts of its officials.
Thank you, Eric, for being on the show. It's great to talk to you again. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. We had fun meeting you in Minneapolis for the conference we had there a couple of years ago.
Well, you did this great column, I think it was October 23rd, a couple of days after the Values Voters Summit?
The so-called Values Voters.
So-called, yes. And that was part of your chagrin. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, I was really dismayed by the coverage of this summit and the way the media kind of slowly seemed to take this term values voters and just use it as though we all agreed that these were the voters who were voting based on their values. And, you know, it was a Christian conservative, a conference of Christian conservative activists meeting in Washington. That's fine. They can meet, they can talk, they can, ask for media coverage. I don't have a problem with that. But when they can call themselves whatever they want, but I think that it's up to us in the media to frame that name, at least in quotes, or to do occasional pieces like the one that I wrote on October 23rd, basically saying, hey, wait a minute, all of us vote on our values, and it's not just you guys who have a claim to this term values, and I think it's very corrosive of the media to allow them to accept it, to take this label and stick it on themselves and not be called on it.
And, get away with it.
Well, because they think they have the right values, and you and I and non-believers, well, we don't have the right values, so we don't have any values at all in their minds.
Well, it's not just non-believers; it's anyone who's not a conservative Republican who doesn't have the right values in their view. And there are plenty of liberal theologians who don't think they have the right view either. So yeah, and I really I feel very strongly that with words like morality and values and family, that the left and non-believers have to fight back and say, hey, we have every bit as much a claim on those words as you do. We are pro-family, we are moral people, and we have lots of values. And yeah, you think your values are better than ours, but, back at you.
Now, you had an interesting proposal in your column. You want to talk about that?
Well, I was going to create the American Institute for Values, Morals, and the Family, and appoint myself executive director and promote progressive values, liberal morality.
You'd probably get millions of dollars from right-wingers.
Yeah, you might.